And welcome to Friday's edition of creating Canon fodder from scratch. And we've done a lot of progress this week. We've got some great pathfinding options, and we really leveraging using Clickteam because there's a reason why you want to use an engine. It's for extensions like the pathfinder object, whatever it's called, because it will do all the calculations for you. It's got the algorithm there, it's ready to go, and it is very, very simple to use when you understand how to use it. It's very simple. You're just creating nodes, you're creating links. That's it. So the first thing we're going to do today is try and get our diagonals into our nodes, and we're going to do that straight away. So let's get straight to it. So this is what we've got at the moment. We've just got these lines, and we want to have these diagonals. Now these diagonals are going to be quite complicated. So I want to start off with the first one. Now the first one, sort of, if there's a right hand one, there should be a sort of downwards diagonal one, right? So you can see here that if we've got a right hand one, we should have a diagonal one. Here we don't have a right hand one, so we don't want a diagonal down one. So I'm going to start off with that, and we can add that to our existing one here. So I'm just going to copy and paste this. And this is where the node's currently at. This time, instead of +1, it's always going to be to the right, which is +1, and then down, which is +3. So it's just going to be +4. How simple is that, eh? I'm going to copy that one. And instead of +1, it's just going to be +4. That's it. So all we have to do. Simples. This next one is going to be a bit more tricky. There's a couple of ways we can view it. Oh, if I close that. So this one here, I'm going to view it as number 2 going down, right? Now you can see here that we only want this to go down if it's not the first row. So we actually want this to happen on the last row as well. So we only want it to go down and left if it's on the first row. And if it's, oh yeah, actually, we don't want that to happen. Okay, yeah, so I've made a mistake there. Whoops. I've made a mistake there because that's not quite right. So let's copy that, paste it. I'm just going to delete those from there. Have it that back as it was, right? And yeah, I've added it to it. Okay, I don't want that. Let's just delete all those. Right, I'm going to add it to its own row because we don't actually want this to happen on the last row. So we're going to add also that the column 2 can't be, the column 2 is less than 2, because what will happen is it has a right here, but we don't want it to have a diagonal down. Simple as that. Okay. Right. So the down left, we don't want it to happen on the last row, but we actually don't want it to happen on the last column, sorry, but we don't want to have it on the first row. If that makes sense. Okie dokie. So I'm just going to copy that. That is the same, but this time if it's greater than 0. Okay. Now we want it from the current one. And this time we're going left, so it would be take away 1, left, and then +3, right? So when you take away 1, in fact we can show it on here. So from here to here, we're taking away 1, adding 3. Well, that's the same as adding 2, isn't it, right? So it's just going to be +2. Okay. Let's edit this next one. So it's just going to be +2. And we're just going to run it and see. So this is still we're still walking between 0.1 and 8. And so what we should see is it move from 1 to 5 and then to 8. Because now we've got all of these diagonals. That's what the first one we did, is all these diagonals. And we didn't make it happen on the second when col2 is 2 or more. And then we've done these ones on the second part. again, we didn't want these to happen on the first one or when col is 2 or more, right? Or when col is 2. So what it should do now is walk from 1 to 5 to 8. It might walk from 1 to 4 to 8, but I think it's got a preference to go right first, just so that there's a decision and it's constant. So I think it goes right first if it can. Oh, no, it doesn't. It goes down. So it's gone down and then diagonal, and that's what we wanted. I think it will always go down and diagonal. I remember there's a kind of precedence. It will always go to... It will always be predictable given that it has 2 options. It'll always be predictable about which option it has because of the way the algorithm works. The algorithm doesn't have any sense of randomness, so it'll always do the same. Even though it could go diagonal and down and it would be equal, it will always go the same. Perfect. So that's what we wanted. We want to add diagonals. That is now a way of adding diagonals. One thing I will do is slightly change this. Because I've said +4, I'm going to say +1. Oh, wow. I'm going to say +1 +3. And the reason for that is for tomorrow's video. Or not tomorrow's video, Monday's video. When we look at next week of enhancing this, so it would be take away 1 +3. It's going to be more useful to us to see what it is we're doing. We're not really taking away 2 there. We're minusing 1 to find the left one, and we're plussing 3 to find the next one. And so if we change the row amount, this number will change. Okay. And yeah, so it just helps us remind us of that fact. And so here we are. That's cool. Right. The next thing I want to do is I want to click on where it is he's going to or she's going to. So I want to click here and I want the player to move to where I've clicked. I think that would be a good place to kind of go with this. Now, let's have a look at our grid again. Where the player clicks is going to be quite unreliable, right? Oh, I hate it when it does that. It's whatever you've done last, it will change. But anyway, so if the player clicks here, for instance, where we can't, well, I don't want to create a new node. The whole point of this is that I know where the nodes are. So if a tree falls down, I can get rid of the nodes nearby because now it blocks the road or whatever. If I'm going around creating nodes everywhere, then I have no control over that, because if I create a node there and the player's at number 6, then the player could then just go straight from 6 to that node. If this node connects up with all of them, what does this node connect up with? Well, will it just connect to 2? There's a lot of consideration that will be needed for that. What I want to do is say, okay, you've clicked here, but actually I'm going to look for the closest one of the closest node to where you click. Oh, I don't know what that is. Oh, I've clicked save. Okay. So when you click say down here, I think it's obvious that 9 is the closest. Here, obviously, it's obvious that 8 is the closest, but we need some way of finding out where the closest point is. Now we can cheat and we can say, I don't care about the closest. I'm just always gonna round it down. I'm always gonna find a node that is sort of close to where they click by rounding it down, perhaps. And that might be where we start. So I'm gonna say a click here. So if these go up in 100, which they do, there we are. If these go up in 100, that's going to be, say, I don't know, 150. Where's that? So 100, 200, 300, so 320, right? That's the coordinate that I'm going to say that I clicked. And we want that to get round down to the nearest node. So the nearest node would be here, and this we know is 200, 200. This is not the best tool for this. Anyway, how is that desirable? Click the thing, there we are. Okay, it's not going to be 150, it's not going to be 200, 200, it's going to be 100, 300. Don't know what I'm thinking. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to round the player's coordinate down to the nearest 100 each time by the looks of that. And that will give us not necessarily the most ideal way of doing this, but it would be maybe close enough if these nodes are close enough together. So let's do that. So we're going to say when the player clicks, so where are we? Sorry, they've changed all these icons in this update, and they are nice icons. It's just it takes me a while to find out where I'm going. I'm going to deactivate this because we don't want anything to happen straight away. And we want to create, we want to find the node that's at that coordinate, don't we? Now we made a little algorithm to find the node earlier, didn't we? Because any of these have it, which is not algorithm but equation to find the node. So we want to do the same here, so I'm just going to drag this down, going to put him at 1, and he's going to move to node and then paste this in. So instead of moving to where the row 2 is, we're going to be looking at the Y mouse, but what we want to do is we want it to round down to the nearest 100. So if it's 205, we need it to round down to the nearest 100. So what I can do is divide it by 100. So if it's 205, in Clickteam, unless I put 0.0, it will round down literally to the nearest integer. So 205 would round down to 2, and then we need to obviously multiply it by 100 so that it's 200. I've somehow, or some reason, clicked X mouse when actually it needs to be, sorry, Y mouse instead of X mouse, if I can speak, and its cos2 will be the Y mouse, so it's the same thing. I think that will work, but we shall see. Okay, so let's, oh hang on, have I got everything else in there? I think I have. Yeah, so start movement, yeah, perfect. Now I've kind of got to guess where these are, but I think it's somewhere down here. So it should round down somewhere here. Nothing. Nothing. Because I haven't connected it. No. Okay, so at this point what I do is I check that I'm not going completely mad. Copy that. And then I'm going to change alterable string to the string version of that. Let's have a look. So if I click, oh wow, that's not what I want. So I've made a mistake somewhere. Oh, I don't know, because it's just a loop index. So actually I do want just the, I'm being silly. And then I want to, take away 1? Let's just leave it at that. So if the X mouse, yeah, that should work perfectly as it is. Wow. Went completely the wrong approach and got the right answer pretty much. What I haven't done is I haven't updated the thingy up. So copy that. I haven't updated where the string output. Let's just do that. Put it in a string. And so if I'm just to the right, bottom right of him, it should be 1, but I think it will come up with something else. Yeah, it'll come up with 5. Interesting. Oh, I know why that's happening. So this will come up with 9. Cool. Okay. If you noticed he was bouncing, actually let's try and get the outcome I actually wanted. So I need to actually just take away 1 from these. So it would be -1. Because this will give 1 too many on both of these things, I think. So let's run that and see. Oh no, I need to change the alterable string so I can read it. And this time I'm going to click string first and then paste it in. It's a bit of debug. And so if I click here, it should be 1. Oh, it is, right. If we click down here, it should be what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Perfect. Now, here's a problem. If I click down here, he will bounce back to 1 and then go to 9, right? Oh, undesirable. Right, and the reason being is that each time we're adding 1 to the journey, we actually only want to do that at the start. So let's delete that. And we only want at the start of frame to add the node path 1. But I don't know whether that will work because we haven't got the node path yet. So this actually would be a good idea to see whether I can add a path node before I've actually added the node. Ah, the answer is no. Good. So I was right when I did it before. So we want to make sure that these happen first. And with Clickteam, why am I doing a comment? It works from top to bottom. So and there's some exceptions to that, but mostly it's procedural from top to bottom, right? So if I do a new start event here, if I remember which one it is, start a frame here, and then add the node path, or the journey path, add path node 1. Now the reason it didn't work up here is we hadn't actually added the nodes yet, which is here, and we hadn't added the connections, which is here. So it can't do it until we've added the nodes and the connections, and then it can do it. Okay, and we're only going to do it once because we want the player object to move and then move somewhere else, right? So if I click here, maybe to here, number 2. Oh wow, there we are. I can't do it above because it will muck up, right? And then perfect. Always moving to where I click the mouse. That's a weird one. It just wasn't far down enough. And that is pretty cool. And so that works nicely. It gets really mucked up if I go outside. Ooh, you get 3 if you are outside of the radius up here. So probably what I want to do is I want to leave it as it was before, without the -1, because that was doing weird things. And actually I probably want to get rid of these brackets. I don't really want to overdo brackets, otherwise you get really complicated looking code. And let's edit that, put a string in, done. I quite liked the way it was here. So 1, 2, 3. Oh, and because I've gone out, that's why, because it thinks that it's carrying on over here. So if I click here, it would go all the way down there. So this only works in this little grid here, but it roughly goes to where the mouse goes. And you can imagine if the nodes were closer together, you wouldn't notice the disparity so much. It might be that when we do this, we want to work out, like, we want to have the point at which it goes from one node to another sort of in the middle. And let's see whether I can do that. Whoa. I'm already getting a bit worried. Okay, let's do it with the alterable string so we can see what we're outputting. So the 100 is the distance between the node, and so what we want to do is have a think through. So 120, we want that to be at 0.1. So let's ignore the Y mouse, right? At 120, we want that to be at 0.1. But at 160, we want that to move to 0.2, right? So it might be that we want a simple round. So we might put this at a 0.0, get a decimal, and then round this, right? I'm assuming you can just type in round, right? Now round will round up or down. So if this is 1.4, it will move to 1. If this is 1.6, it will move to 2. If you always wanted to round down, you say floor. If you always wanted to round up, you say ceiling or seal. But don't forget, if you want a decimal, you need to put a 0.0 in there. Okay, let's do the same with this. Let's do a round, and let's put a 0.0 in here. And that should mean the boundary is halfway between the two things, hopefully. And remember, we've not done it with the movement, we've only done it with the ultra ball. So here should be 1. It says 5. Not quite sure why it says 5. Because I've done something daft, probably. Because it's rounding up. So let's. So if I'm up here, it's 1, and then 2 halfway between. So actually, that works nicely for here. But for whatever reason, when you go to the... Well, let's copy and paste this onto the actual thing so we can see the actual movement without the string. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2. Yeah. So we do seem to have a problem with it going too far down. We want it to switch at the next one, so I think we need to add 1, do we? So it will go. So we just want to remove the +1 there, maybe? Question mark. If we just remove that +1 and see what happens. So that's more desirable, isn't it? Okay, we're ignoring that because that's when we go off. Okay, sometimes things happen and you don't really know why, but it's all good. So this time we want a -1 from this, I believe. This is me guessing. Sometimes you just need to trial and improvement and then just go, yeah, I've got it right. That's right, that's perfect, isn't it? And so it feels like it's a lot closer to where you're clicking now. So I'm clicking up here, it's pretty close. If I click here, it always feels like it's quite close. Now we're not going to go any further than that because now with this, what we've done is we've allowed the player to always go the closest node to where we've clicked, and we're not actually going to have 100 pixels between each node because next week we're going to hugely reduce the distance between the nodes, and we're going to kind of maybe push Clickteam pretty hard over how much we can reduce that distance. So on Monday's video we're going to have an ultra value so that we can say, oh, I've decided I want to do 1,000 nodes now, or 2,000 nodes, and just change one value and have this all updated. So we kind of need 2 numbers. We need 1 for the amount of rows and 1 for the amount of columns, because a screen is not a square and we don't want rectangles. We want the nodes to be little squares, but we want all the nodes to create a rectangle, so we need the width to be higher than the height. Simple. So I hope you enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you on Monday for hopefully the conclusionary videos on getting this movement perfect. Thank you very much. If you like this video, click like. If you want to see more from us, click subscribe. Thank you very much, and keep your comments coming in. Make sure, if you're watching this, leave a comment below, even if it's just a thumbs up or a thumbs down or whatever you want. Leave a comment and I will read and hopefully reply to them all. Thank you very much.